Picture this. You're standing in a room full of your family, the people who've known you your whole life, and they're tearing you apart, calling you a failure, a disappointment, a nobody. That was me 5 years ago. At our family reunion, my dad's voice booming. "You'll never amount to anything, Ethan." Those words burned, but they lit a fire in me, one that carried me to a moment nobody saw coming. Today, I'm stepping off a $10 million yacht. My family's jaws on the floor, their insults swallowed by the hum of my success. My name's Ethan, and this is my story, a raw, real tale of being written off by the people I loved and proving them wrong in a way that shut them up for good. If you've ever been doubted, judged, or told you're not enough, stick with me, because this one's for you. I was 29 when it all went down, living in Seattle, a city that's as vibrant as it is unforgiving. I'd always been the odd one out of my family, the black sheep in a pack of overachievers. My dad, Robert, was a cardiologist, pulling in $500,000 a year, with a house in Bellevue that screamed success. My mom, Linda, was a corporate lawyer, sharp as a tack, her name on plaques at fancy firms. My older sister, Claire, followed their playbook, neurosurgeon, married to a tech exec, 2 kids, and a Tesla in the driveway. Then there was my younger brother, Mark, a software engineer at Amazon, coding his way to stock options and a condo downtown. And me? I was the dreamer, the kid who'd rather tinker with ideas and ace exams, the one who dropped out of college to find himself and never quite found the path my family expected. Growing up, I felt their disappointment like a weight. Family dinners were a gauntlet, Dad grilling me about grades, Mom sighing when I talk about my latest project, Claire and Mark swapping stories of their latest wins while I picked at my food. "Why can't you be more like your sister?" Dad would say, his voice heavy with frustration. I tried to shrug it off, but it stuck like a splinter you can't dig out. I wasn't lazy. I worked odd jobs, from bartending to freelance graphic design, always chasing something bigger, but nothing clicked. By my late 20s, I was scraping by in a 1-bedroom apartment, my bank account hovering near zero, my dreams mocked as pipe dreams at every holiday gathering. Have you ever felt like the world's betting against you? Like even your own family doesn't believe in you? That was my life, day in, day out. The family reunion was the breaking point. It was a big deal, our first in years, hosted at a swanky waterfront estate on Lake Washington, rented to celebrate Dad's 60th birthday. The guest list was a who's who of our extended clan. Aunts, uncles, cousins, all decked out in designer clothes, swapping stories of promotions and vacations. I showed up in my best thrift store blazer, my stomach knotted, knowing I'd be the odd man out. The evening started fine. Cocktails, laughter, a buffet that could feed a small army. But as the night wore on, the mood shifted. It was like they'd all been waiting for their chance to put me on trial. It started with my Uncle Jim, a real estate mogul with a Rolex that gleamed under the chandeliers. "So, Ethan," he said, loud enough for the room to hear, "still chasing those startup fantasies? When are you going to get a real job?" The table chuckled, and I forced a smile, my face hot. "Working on it." I mumbled, but he wasn't done. "You're almost 30, kid. Time to grow up." Before I could respond, Claire jumped in, her voice dripping with pity. "He's just creative," she said like it was a disease. Mark smirked, adding, "Yeah, creatively broke." The laughter grew, and I felt the room shrink, every eye on me, judging, dismissing. Then Dad stood up, his glass raised for a toast. But it wasn't about his birthday. "To family," he said, his voice commanding. "To hard work, to success, to those who make us proud." He looked at Claire and Mark, then paused, his eyes landing on me, cold and heavy. "And to those who need to step up," he said, "because life doesn't wait for dreamers." The room went quiet, the weight of his words crushing. Mom reached for his arm, whispering, "Robert, enough." But he shook her off. "No, Linda, he needs to hear it. Ethan, you're a failure. You're embarrassing us." I froze, my heart pounding, the air sucked out of me. My family, my own blood, nodded along, some looking away, others smirking. I stood, my chair scraping, and walked out, their laughter chasing me into the night. I drove home in a daze, Seattle's rain blurring my windshield, my dad's words looping in my head. Failure, embarrassing, nothing. I'd always known they doubted me, but to hear like that in front of everyone was a wound I couldn't ignore. I got to my apartment, a cramped space with peeling paint and a mattress on the floor, and sat in the dark, my fists clenched. I wanted to scream, to call them and tell them they were wrong, but what could I say? My bank account had $200. My car was a 15-year-old Honda, and my big ideas hadn't panned out. They weren't wrong, not yet, but that night, something shifted. Their words didn't break me. They forged me. I wasn't going to be their punching bag anymore. I was going to prove them wrong, and I was going to do it big. The next morning, I started over. I'd been dabbling in e-commerce, selling custom phone cases online, but it was small potatoes, $500 a month, barely enough for rent. I'd been too scared to go all in, worried about failing, proving them right. But now, fear was gone. I poured every waking hour into my store, learning SEO, studying ads, tweaking designs. I spent my last $100 on a Facebook campaign, targeting tech-savvy millennials with a sleek, minimalist case I designed myself. The orders trickled in, then surged. 50, 100, 500 in a week. I reinvested every penny, scaling up, adding new products, wallets, chargers, anything I could brand as sleek, modern, By month 3, I was clearing $10,000 in profit, enough to quit bartending and focus full-time. That's when I met Sarah, a venture capitalist at a Seattle startup mixer. I was out of my depth, surrounded by tech bros pitching apps, but I told her my story, my hustle, my vision for a lifestyle brand, my drive to build something real. She saw something in me, maybe the fire my family couldn't. "You're scrappy," she said, handing me her card. "Let's talk." A week later, she introduced me to her firm, Cascade Ventures, and they offered $50,000 for a 10% stake in my business, now called UrbanPulse. I took it, not because I needed the money, sales were climbing, but because I needed their network, their know-how. Sarah became my mentor, guiding me through supply chains, marketing, even hiring a small team. Over the next 2 years, UrbanPulse exploded. We expanded into apparel, tech gadgets, even eco-friendly home goods, all branded around urban minimalist living. By year 3, we were grossing $5 million annually, with a warehouse in Tacoma and a team of 20. I moved out of my dumpy apartment into a loft downtown, my Honda replaced by a Tesla, not to flex, but because I could. I didn't tell my family, not a word. They didn't deserve to know, not after that reunion. I'd get their texts, "Claire's, how's it going?" or "Moms, we miss you," and ignore them, my silence my only response. I wasn't ready to forgive, not until I could show them what I'd become. The yacht was the game changer. I'd always loved the water, sneaking onto boats as a kid, dreaming of owning one. When UrbanPulse hit $8 million in revenue, I splurged. A 70-foot Sunseeker, custom-built, worth $10 million. I named it Redemption, a quiet nod to the journey that got me there. It wasn't just a boat. It was a symbol, a middle finger to everyone who doubted me. I kept it docked in Miami, where I'd expand operations, but I had a plan to bring it back to Seattle, right in time for the next family reunion. They wanted to call me a failure. I'd let Redemption do the talking. As the reunion approached, I started planning, my heart racing with anticipation. It was at the same estate, another big bash for Dad's birthday, and I knew they'd expect the same old Ethan, broke, quiet, easy to mock. But I wasn't that guy anymore. I'd built an empire, and I was coming to show them just how wrong they'd been. Sarah warned me to be careful. "Revenge feels good, but it's a trap," she said. I nodded, but I wasn't listening. This wasn't just about them. It was about me, about silencing the voice in my head that still whispered their insults. I didn't know how they'd react, but I knew one thing. When Redemption pulled up, they'd have nothing left to say. You ever have a moment where the world feels like it's stacked against you, but something inside just refuses to quit? That was me after my family tore me apart at our reunion. My dad's voice echoing, "You're a failure, Ethan," while my relatives laughed. Those words could have crushed me, but instead, they were like gasoline on a spark. I'd started my e-commerce business, UrbanPulse, from a rundown Seattle apartment. And against all odds, it was taking off. $5 million in revenue, a team, a mentor, and a vision that kept me up at night. But my family didn't know any of it. They still saw the broke dreamer they'd mocked. And I was keeping it that way until I could show them the truth on my terms. My name's Ethan, and this is a part of my story where I build an empire, wrestle with the scars of their doubt, and plan a reunion reveal so bold it'll leave them speechless. Let's dive back in. I was still in Seattle. The city's gray skies a constant reminder of the gloom I was climbing out of. UrbanPulse was my lifeline, a brand selling minimalist tech accessories and lifestyle gear to urban millennials. What started with phone cases had grown into a full-blown operation. Wallets, chargers, apparel, even eco-friendly home goods, all branded around sleek, modern living. By year 2, we were grossing $5 million, with a warehouse in Tacoma and a team of 20 hustling alongside me. I'd gone from a mattress on the floor to a downtown loft, my thrift store clothes swapped for tailored jackets, my beat-up Honda traded for a Tesla. But success didn't erase the sting of that reunion. The way my family's laughter had cut me open. Every milestone, every sale, every investor meeting was fuel to prove them wrong, to make them eat their words. The growth wasn't easy. Scaling UrbanPulse was like riding a rocket with half the controls missing. I was learning on the fly, burning through 16-hour days, juggling suppliers in China, ad campaigns on Instagram, and a customer base that expected perfection. My mentor, Sarah, from Cascade Ventures, was a godsend, guiding me through the chaos. "You've got the vision," she'd say, her voice calm but firm, "but you need systems." She helped me hire a logistics manager, streamline our supply chain, and pitch to bigger retailers. By year 3, UrbanPulse was in talks with Nordstrom for a limited edition line, a deal that could push us to $10 million in revenue. I was thrilled, but I was also exhausted, my life a blur of spreadsheets, emails, and coffee runs. Have you ever poured everything into something, knowing one wrong move could tank it all? That was my reality, every single day. The hardest part wasn't the work. It was the silence. I cut my family off, ignoring their texts, skipping holidays, building a wall between us. Claire's just checking messages when unanswered. Mom's voicemails about family time got deleted. I wasn't ready to face them, not until I could stand taller than their doubts. But the isolation hurt. I'd see families laughing at coffee shops, kids hugging their parents, and feel a pang, a reminder of what I'd lost. My team became my surrogate family, late-night pizza runs with my designer, brainstorming sessions with my marketing lead. But it wasn't the same. I'd lie awake some nights, wondering if I was proving them wrong, or just running from their judgment. Their voices, Dad's failure, Claire's pity marked smirk, lived in my head, pushing me forward but also haunting me. Money changed things, too. I wasn't used to it, and it showed. I'd walk into meetings with investors, my palms sweaty, feeling like an imposter in my new suits. When I bought the Tesla, I caught my reflection in the showroom glass and barely recognized myself. The $10 million yacht, Redemption, was the biggest leap. I'd flown to Miami to finalize the purchase, standing on the deck as the Sunseeker's engines hummed, its sleek lines gleaming under the Florida sun. It wasn't just a boat. It was my answer to every insult, every eye roll, every time they called me less. But even as I signed the papers, a voice nagged. Is this for you or for them? I pushed it down, focusing on the plan. The yacht was my trump card, and I was going to play it at the next reunion, docking it right where they couldn't miss it. Planning the reveal became my obsession. The reunion was set for Dad's 65th birthday, back at the same Lake Washington estate, a glittering stage for my comeback. I knew they'd expect the old Ethan, quiet, defeated, easy to dismiss. Instead, they'd get the new me, a CEO, a millionaire, a man who'd built something from nothing. I coordinated with my team to keep UrbanPulse running smoothly while I prepped. Sarah helped me polish my story, crafting a narrative for when I face my family. Don't just show off, she said. Show them who you are. I nodded, but part of me wanted to rub it in, to make them feel small the way they'd done to me. Was that wrong? Maybe, But after years of their scorn, I felt entitled to a little gloating. The logistics were tricky. I had redemption shipped from Miami to Seattle, a $200,000 move that took weeks to arrange. I worked with local marina to secure a prime dock near the state, visible from the reunion's outdoor terrace. I timed the yacht's arrival for the height of the party, when everyone would be mingling, glasses in hand, smug in their assumptions about me. I also planned a small gesture, a gift for Dad, something to drive the point home. I chose a Rolex Submariner, the watch he'd always admired, the one he'd said was for winners. It cost $15,000, a drop in the bucket now, but I imagined his face when I handed it to him, the weight of his own words hitting back. Visual cue. Picture a close-up of that Rolex glinting in the sun, Dad's hands trembling as he takes it, his confidence crumbling. I wasn't just planning a spectacle. I was protecting my success. My family's doubt had taught me to be cautious. So I worked with financial advisor Karen to diversify my wealth. UrbanPulse profits were reinvested into real estate and index funds, ensuring I wasn't a one-hit wonder. Karen crunched the numbers. My net worth was $12 million, with redemption as the crown jewel. "You're solid," she said, "but don't let this reunion thing derail you." I promised I wouldn't. But the truth was, I was all in. This wasn't just about money. It was about pride, about rewriting the story they'd told about me. The emotional toll was heavier than I expected. I'd built UrbanPulse to escape their judgment, but their voices still lingered, making me question every move. Was I good enough? Was this enough? I started seeing a therapist, Dr. Ellis, to unpack it. "You're chasing validation," he said, his voice gentle but direct. "What happens when you get it?" I didn't have an answer, but I knew I couldn't stop. The reunion was my finish line, the moment I'd silence their doubts and maybe, just maybe, quiet my own. Dr. Ellis helped me channel the anger into focus, but it was a tightrope. Some days, I'd scroll through old family photos, me as a kid, grinning with Claire and Mark, and feel a lump in my throat. I missed them, even after everything, but forgiveness felt like surrender, and I wasn't there yet. As the reunion drew closer, 2 weeks out, I faced new challenges. My team was stretched thin, with a Nordstrom deal demanding late-night negotiations. A supplier in Shenzhen botched a shipment, costing us $50,000, and I had to fly to California to smooth things over with a key client. The stress was crushing. My sleep down to 4 hours a night, my coffee intake bordering on dangerous. Sarah noticed, pulling me aside after meeting. "You're burning out," she said. "This yacht thing, is it worth it?" I looked at her, my jaw tight. "It's not about the yacht," I said. "It's about me." She nodded, but her eyes said she wasn't convinced. "Have you ever been so driven by a goal that you couldn't see anything else?" That was me, barreling toward the reunion like it was the only thing that mattered. I also had to keep my success under wraps. My family wasn't on my social media, but Seattle's a small world, and I worried a cousin or friend might spill the beans. I told my team to keep UrbanPulse growth quiet, avoiding press releases about our revenue or the Nordstrom talks. I even dodged a local business magazine wanting to profile me, claiming I was too busy. It was paranoid, maybe, but I couldn't risk them knowing before the reveal. I wanted their shock, their silence, their realization that they'd underestimated me. Visual cue. Imagine a montage of Ethan at work, typing furiously, shaking hands with suppliers, glancing at a photo of redemption on his desk, his eyes burning with purpose. The final piece was my speech. I wrote it late at night, pacing my loft, practicing in front of a mirror. "I'm Ethan Carter," I'd start, my voice steady. "The failure you wrote off. This is what happens when you bet against me." I imagined their faces, Dad's scowl, Claire's pity, Mark's smirk, melting into awe as redemption docked, its horn cutting through their chatter. I wasn't just going to show up. I was going to own the moment, to make them feel the weight of their words. Sarah read a draft and frowned. "It's powerful," she said, "but it's angry. Are you sure this is you?" I wasn't, but anger was all I had, and I was ready to wield it. With the reunion days away, I felt like a boxer before a fight, nervous, focused, alive. Redemption was en route. My team was holding down UrbanPulse, and my Rolex gift was wrapped, ready to land like a grenade. I didn't know how my family would react. Anger, envy, maybe even pride. But I knew one thing. When that yacht pulled up, they'd see me for the first time, not as their failure, but as a man who'd turned their doubt into a dynasty. I was ready to rewrite my story, and they were about to read it loud and clear. There's a moment when everything you fought for every sleepless night, every doubt you pushed through, comes together, and the world just stops. For me, that moment was standing on the deck of my $10 million yacht, Redemption, as it docked at my family's reunion. The same people who called me a failure 5 years ago, now staring, speechless, their judgment drowned out by the hum of my success. I'd built UrbanPulse, my e-commerce empire, from a rundown apartment to a $12 million fortune, all while they thought I was still the broke dreamer they'd mocked. My name's Ethan, and this is the end of my story. The part where I walk into that reunion, rewrite my family's narrative, and learn what it really means to prove yourself. If you've ever been underestimated, this is where it gets good. So let's jump in. I was back in Seattle, the city's crisp air charged with anticipation. The reunion was at the same lake, Washington State, a sprawling mansion with views of the water. The perfect stage for Dad's 65th birthday and my long-planned reveal. UrbanPulse was soaring. $8 million in revenue, a Nordstrom deal in the works, a team of 20 running like a well-oiled machine. I'd spent years hiding my success from my family, letting them believe I was still scraping by, setting up this moment to hit like a thunderbolt. Redemption, my son's secret yacht, was docked at a marina just minutes from the estate, its sleek lines gleaming, ready to steal the show. I choreographed every detail, the timing, the gift, the words I'd say, but as the day arrived, nerves crept in. Would this really change anything, or was I just chasing a ghost? Have you ever stood on the edge of a big moment, wondering if it's worth the fight? That was me, heart pounding, ready to face the family who'd written me off. I drove to the reunion in my Tesla, the Rolex Submariner for Dad tucked in a velvet box on the passenger seat. I wore a tailored navy suit, nothing flashy, but sharp enough to signal I wasn't a kid in a thrift store blazer anymore. The estate was buzzing when I arrived, cousins, aunts, uncles, all mingling under string lights, a jazz band playing softly. I spotted my family right away, Dad holding court with a glass of scotch, Mom chatting with Claire, Mark scrolling his phone, smirking at something. They didn't notice me at first, blending into the crowd, my pulse racing as I scanned the terrace. The lake sparkled beyond, and I knew Redemption was out there, waiting for its cue. Visual cue. Picture a wide shot of the estate, the golden glow of the party against the dark water. Ethan slipping to the crowd, his eyes locked on the horizon. I kept a low profile, grabbing a drink, nodding at relatives who barely recognized me. My Uncle Jim, the one who'd mocked my startup fantasies 5 years ago, clapped my shoulder. "Ethan, still chasing pipe dreams?" he said, his grin smug. I smiled, tight-lipped, something like that. I said, my voice calm, but my mind screaming, just wait. The party hummed along, toast to Dad's legacy, Claire bragging about her latest surgery, Mark dropping Amazon buzzwords. I felt the old sting, their world, their rules, their assumption I'd never fit in. But I wasn't here to blend. I was here to break their script. The moment came an hour in, as dessert was served. I coordinated with the marina to bring Redemption into view, its lights cutting through the dusk, its horn a low, commanding hum. I stepped onto the terrace, where most of the guests were gathered, and cleared my throat. "Can I have everyone's attention?" I said, loud enough to hush the chatter. Heads turned, my family's eyes narrowing, Dad skeptical, Mom's curious, Claire's patronizing. I took a breath, my speech memorized but alive, every word sharpened by years of their doubt. "I'm Ethan Carter," I started, my voice steady, "the one you called a failure at the last reunion. 5 years ago, you told me I'd never amount to anything. Tonight, I'm here to show you what happens when you underestimate someone." A murmur rippled through the crowd, confusion mixing with intrigue. I gestured toward the lake, where Redemption was docking, its 70-foot frame glowing under spotlights, the name unmistakable on its hull. Gasps broke out. Phones raised to snap photos. The jazz band faltering as guests rushed to the railing. Visual cue. Zoom on the yacht. Its sleek silhouette gliding in, the crowd stunned faces lit by its glow. Ethan standing tall, unshaken. My family froze. Dad's glass slipped. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Claire's jaw dropped. Mark's phone forgotten. That's redemption, I said, my eyes locked on Dad. My $10 million yacht. Paid for by UrbanPulse, the company I built from nothing. Last year, we grossed $8 million. This year, we're on track for $10 million. I'm not your failure anymore. The silence was deafening, the kind that swallows everything. Then the crowd erupted, clapping, whispering, some cheering. Others bombarded me with questions. What's UrbanPulse? How'd you do it? My family didn't move. Their faces a mix of shock, envy, shame. I walked to Dad, the Rolex box in hand, and set it on the table in front of him. This is for you, I said, my voice low but clear. The submariner you always wanted, the one you said was for winners. Guess I qualify now. Visual cue. Close up on the Rolex, its face glinting. Dad's hands hovering, his eyes wide with something between pride and regret. He didn't speak, just stared, his usual confidence gone. Mom broke the silence, her voice trembling. Ethan, we didn't know, she said, stepping forward. Why didn't you tell us? I looked at her, years of hurt rising. Because you didn't believe in me, I said. You laughed, Mom. You all did. Claire tried to speak, her voice shaky. We were wrong, okay? But this is incredible. Mark just nodded, his smirk replaced by something like respect. I didn't soften. You don't get to claim this, I said, my gaze sweeping them. I built it despite you, not because of you. The crowd was still buzzing, some filming, others whispering about the yacht guy, but I felt a weight lift like I'd finally shed their judgment. I didn't stay long. I mingled briefly, answering questions about UrbanPulse, how I'd started with phone cases, scaled with Sarah's investment, landed the Nordstrom deal. A cousin, Jenny, pulled me aside, tears in her eyes. I'm so proud of you, she said. I always knew you had it in you. I hugged her, grateful for one ally, but my focus was on the exit. I'd said my piece, shown my truth. As I left, redemption still docked, a beacon against the night. I heard Dad call my name, but I kept walking, the cool air hitting my face, my heart steady. Visual cue, Ethan's silhouette against the yacht's lights, his steps firm, the estate fading behind him. The fallout was swift and messy. Word of the reveal spread, first through family texts, then social media. A local blogger posted about Seattle's yacht comeback, detailing UrbanPulse rise, and it got 50,000 views in a week. My inbox filled with messages, congratulations, apologies, even a few cousins asking for business tips. Claire called, leaving a voicemail. Ethan, let's talk. We're family. Mom sent a long text, admitting they'd been harsh, begging to reconnect. Dad was silent, but Jenny said he'd been carrying the Rolex everywhere, like a talisman. I didn't respond, not yet. Their apologies fell hollow, tainted by the years they dismissed me. Was I being too hard? Maybe, but trust is earned, and they'd burned theirs. UrbanPulse soared post-reunion. The Nordstrom deal closed, adding $2 million to our projections, and a tech magazine profiled me as Seattle's next big thing. My net worth hit $15 million, with redemption as my flagship, but success came with pressure. Investors wanted more, competitors circled, and my team leaned on me to keep the momentum. I leaned on Sarah and Karen, my advisor, to stay grounded, but the reunion lingered, a mix of triumph and ache. I'd won, but at what cost? My therapist, Dr. Ellis, pushed me to confront it. You got their silence, he said. What's next? I didn't know, but I was starting to see it wasn't just about them. It was about me. The biggest surprise was Mom. A month later, she showed up at my loft, unannounced, her eyes red. I'm sorry, she said, her voice breaking. Not just for the reunion, for all of it. I didn't see you. She handed me a letter, handwritten, detailing how she bragged about Claire and Mark to cope with her own fears, how she'd failed me. I read it, my throat tight, and saw something new. Her paying off my student loans 2 years ago. Thinking I'd never know, I hugged her, not fully forgiving, but cracking the door open. It wasn't closure, but it was a start. Visual cue, a soft focus on the letter. Ethan's hands tracing the words, Mom's tearful smile in the background. Looking back, I learned 3 things. First, success is the sweetest revenge, but it's empty if it's just for others. Build for yourself, not their approval. Second, doubt is fuel if you use it right. My family's scorn drove me, but I had to let go of their voices to grow. Third, family isn't owed forgiveness. They earn it like anyone else. I'm not fully there with them, but I'm open to trying one step at a time. UrbanPulse is my legacy now, not their expectations. I still sail redemption. It's decked my sanctuary, a reminder I'm enough. If you're watching this and you've been doubted by family, friends, or yourself, here's my challenge. Don't wait for their permission. Start small, like I did with phone cases, and keep going even when it's hard. Check your dreams against reality, not their opinions. And ask yourself, is success about money or about proving you're enough? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your story. My family thought they defined me, but I wrote my own ending, and you can too. Thanks for riding along. This is Ethan, signing off from Redemption, where the view's pretty damn good.